So, hello there. Today we're talking to Sebastian Litmanovich, music producer and visual artist from Madrid. It's a pleasure to have you here today. Sebastian, how are you?
Hello, how are you? I'm very fine. A bit hot. It's a very hot day, but that's good. That's good. I like summer.
Oh, thank you so much for talking to us for the Five Star Project. And
My pleasure.
oh, thank you. We'd love if you could introduce yourself to us and explain what you do.
Okay. Well, I am, as you said, a visual artist, a musician. I started in Buenos Aires. I studied in Buenos Aires. Music, it was mostly intuitive and self-learning. I didn't study anywhere music, but I find out with time that actually you are studying, but by yourself. So you are learning, you are studying, you can even have the discipline and everything similar, exactly like going to the university, but doing it by yourself. And nowadays with internet, it's so much easy to progress and to access to information and stuff like that. But I started very young in Buenos Aires, and I study graphic design. I also study communication media. It includes, for example, radio production, TV production, script writing, production. I don't know, all kind of real, actual real stuff you need to do when you do a TV show or a radio show or a movie or stuff like that. So I studied that very young. Later I studied graphic design, and I finished my studies in New York
That's amazing.
for 3-4 months in School of Visual Arts and Parsons Schools. So yeah,
That's
I
amazing.
mostly go around all the time, everything that is visual or musical.
Yes. So how
That's
did
what is in my head all the time.
all the time? So how did you
Most.
get into music from
Well,
there?
probably I think most of the inner passions you could have are something you learn when you are a kid, when you see something that inspires you very much. For example, I always try to think why I am a musician. Because in my family there is no musicians.
Hmm.
Only one of my grandmothers was a piano teacher, but I never actually saw her play the piano because as soon as she got married, she stopped playing piano. Like, okay, I don't need to work anymore. So there were not a big music passion there, probably. But I think the best influence about music have to be with to seeing my father enjoying music, listening to headphones, and all the music when I was 6 years old. I am from 1973, so around 78, 79, I started listening to music more consciously
Hmm.
because I started recording tapes all the time. My grandfather gave me one tape with, I don't know, ABBA and Kenny Rogers, and I studied that music since that
Wow.
age. Well, since I was 5, 6 years old, I get the tape, went to my father's car, put the contact, play the tape, and listen. And also, it was my space for myself and only for
Yes.
myself. Um, uh, my family was having some trouble, so I was a bit stressed, and I find that space very comforting,
Oh, definitely.
especially when everybody was at home. So I said, okay, I go to the car, goodbye. I take the tapes and start. Actually, I started almost studying that music, learning, trying to understand what was going on there that excited me so much, because I remember listening to that songs, and one one times, two times, three times, over and over again. I never get bored of that, and it still is my way to understand music, just to listen obsessively all the time the same, probably the same track for a period of a couple of days, and then I change to another track, or I am. It's sometimes difficult to listen to a million different things at once. Nowadays, with the internet and with this culture, we are getting used to that. But when I was a kid, I was more like specific. I wanted to understand the secret.
That's
But I
so
didn't
cool.
have any way to produce it by myself. So
Yeah,
I needed to listen obsessively.
that's amazing. That's amazing.
And then graphic design, I don't know. I don't even know how it came to me, because when it was time for me to go to the university, I don't know. I wanted to be a tennis player, actually. I
Wow,
played
that's
tennis from
very young.
11 years old to 20 years old, something like that. And I was almost professional. I did all the training, all the professional training. I trained with people that plays at Copa Davis or Davis Cup or in a professional field. I never became professional. And that was great because I don't have the competitive mentality to do that.
Oh, I see.
I am very analytic, so I remember all my teachers at the tennis school always said to me that I was great, but it was not a good idea for me to go with the professionals because I didn't have the mindset for that. So when the time arrived, when I finished the school and I have to go to the university, I didn't have a clear idea. I just wanted to play tennis and make music and stuff like that. But it didn't came to mind to study music, because music in a country like Argentina maybe is a very, I don't know. The music school was very bohemian, at the same time
Yes.
very. That's the good part. But also it was very like classical music stuff that I enjoy now. But at that point, I wanted to make funky music like Prince, something like that. And there were no school in which you can study that in
I
Buenos Aires
see.
at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I study by myself, really. I
That's
play by
amazing.
myself, stuff like that. And one day I had to go to the university, coming back to the same point, and I didn't know what to do. So I went to the Buenos Aires University that is free, and it was something that attracted me to go there, because in the school I went to a private school, and I didn't like the people at private school. Very posh, very, I didn't connect much with them.
Yes.
So I wanted normal people from everywhere. I didn't want posh people that you just pay and get the title. I didn't want that. So I went to the university, I get the list of all the careers, and I start like this, not this, not this, not this, not this. And at the end I had graphic design and gardening. So I decided, no, maybe graphic design. And later I had to go to another university. That was the only university in Buenos Aires in which you can study graphic design by night. Because by day, I was too busy playing tennis, training actually with professionals and stuff like that. And at the same time, working in a factory to make money. So I had to pay for my university. I made the
Wow.
money in the working hours. Then I went very fast to the tennis training, and then I study at night. It was
Wow.
very crazy.
That's incredible. That's a lot for a young person. If we think about
Yeah.
it. Yeah, it's
Sometimes when I think on my past, I think maybe it was too much for me. What I decided. I didn't have like quiet moments or relaxing, nothing, nothing relaxing.
oh, for an analytical person, that must have been like a burden at the time. And
Well, I enjoy it actually, because also I was still living with my family. and
Mm.
I wanted to be busy and doing stuff. I didn't want it to be, I don't know, to have a free time.
Yeah.
I never thought on time in that way.
Mm.
This is something that I learned much more later when I
Yeah.
had like stress crisis in my life, like when you suddenly you are overwhelmed
Yes,
and the body said, okay, take it easy, man. I can't
exactly.
go on like this.
Oh,
And then I learned. But
I
yeah,
understand.
my family is a working class family, and everybody in my family works a lot.
Mm.
So that's what I learned: a
Yeah.
passion for work, passion for what you like, what you do, and also very a bit naive, optimistic, positive, something like that. That it was also very inspiring, I think, because
Yes.
there is so much negativity and frustration, even
Mm.
in young people, and I didn't experience that. I was
Mm.
always very optimistic and trying to look forward.
That's
This is
amazing.
something that
That's really
helped me
good.
in life a lot.
Yeah, that's
Later in my
amazing.
life came the depressions and stuff like that, but later.
But
At that
later.
point, I was a machine. Let's see.
No, that's amazing. I was going to ask you because you mentioned already New York. So you are in Madrid at the moment. So you,
Yes, I'm
so
living in Madrid
Madrid and then New York, Argentina. And I know you lived in London as well. So,
and Barcelona.
and
Barcelona.
Barcelona. My goodness,
My my
it's,
I live in Buenos Aires until 29 years old.
mm,
I am now 47. In that period, I study. In the middle of that period, I study for a couple of months in New York. But it
mhm.
was a huge experience for me, of
Yes,
course. And also, I made a lot of vacation trips to Brazil, a lot to Florianopolis, uh, two, three, four times maybe to Rio, a couple of
yes,
times to Sao Paulo. I never been to Bahia. That was
yes.
my
Your
goal.
goal.
I never went. I
Wow,
never
there's
make
still
it. I
time.
never made it. I never made it. But I would love to go to Moros de Sao Paulo in
Mm.
Bahia, places like that. I don't know how is everything right now, but it was
Yeah.
my dream really,
Oh.
and probably to open a bar in that Moros de Sao Paulo, something like that.
That's amazing. So, you've been to a lot of places and met so many people and did so many different creative things, with your videos and the music and, your visual arts. What stands out for you now? Like when you think about retrospectively, you think maybe this experience or these experiences really helped me or shaped me in a way, or life-changing times, or whatever you want to call them. Is there anything that comes to your mind when we talk
Yes,
about it?
yes. There is a mindset that I learned when I was 12 years old, something like that. I went to a psychoanalysis, something like
Mm,
to a psychoanalysis session to find out what I wanted to do. Because when it was the time for the school, I was very confused and I thought that my choice will mark the rest of my life. I was very young. I confused university with school already at that moment. And so I went to do this therapy that it was just one or two sessions, something like that. And one exercise was imagine that you have a dinner and you are surrounded by all kind of people that you really like. And suddenly someone is leaving, then another one leaves the table, and which one do you prefer to leave the last? Which one do you prefer to just be with you and no one else? So I did this exercise, but mostly focus on my interests like music. At that time, also computers. It
mhm.
was very early, but I was doing code, programming, stuff like that. I was in love with computers. So I decided to do that, computers, stuff like that.
Yes.
and and I choose that school and stuff. And that mindset helped me a lot when I have to ask myself, what you want to do really? It's very simple. It's probably a childish mindset, but some time ago, a friend of mine asked me just the same question, and I find the answer is, for example, if I don't have any graphic design project going on, I am not doing graphic design. If I don't have an illustration exhibition, maybe I do an illustration or not. If I don't have a musical project like a production for another artist or for myself, or I am working on my own album, I still do music every day. So music is I am music in that sense, because it's the only thing that I find I will do anyway. I
That's
think on
amazing.
music anyway. It's more familiar to me somehow. So I find more comfort on that um, ideas. I understand more the sound and the music than, I don't know. It's not that I don't have interest in another stuff. Huh?
Yeah, no,
I
sure.
actually I have a lot of interests, but that's the answer. I
That's
think it's
amazing.
music. Yes.
Fantastic. And then, so, your music. So, let's single out music then, because it's your, let's say, more prominent passion and things that you do every day, like you say. Is there a work that you really is very close to your heart? I've been following you for a number of years, and I've seen your music videos and your creation, Cineplex, and all that.
Yes.
But I wonder, for you, what work for you, or what pieces of work stands out for yourself when you look at your career and your body of work?
It's not easy because always, and it doesn't happen to me only, probably to many musicians. When you're working on something, really feel in your heart that that's the best you have done until that date.
Yeah.
Because you are evolving all the time. I don't know, probably some artists that have big contracts and compromises with companies, stuff like that, find themselves working on something without much passion, or they need vacations, but they have to work. I don't know. It's not my experience. My experience is more with myself. Since it's my project all alone and it's independent, I don't have big compromises, and I can go forward anytime I want.
Yeah.
And so I feel it's probably my last album, the best thing I have done in terms of a music production. On the quality of the sound, I learned a lot with the time, since I learned on myself. Some things I have learned more faster in this period than before. Probably before I was more focused on the composition, but then I started producing other artists, and this is very rewarding in the sense that you are helping someone to develop their career, and they have a lot of excitement, and you are the tool or the consigliere, or I don't know, the partner in crime on that project. That's very rewarding, comforting. Because sometimes I thought that I could be a good teacher, but a friend of mine said to me at that point when I was living in Barcelona, you cannot teach right now. You are like a sponge, absorbing all the time. You are not in a point in your life in which you can share that. And at that moment, probably he was right. But later, I tried to find myself a way to complete the cycle and start teaching some way what I learned. And I find that the best way for me to share that is to produce the artworks of other people. to help them develop their careers. More focus on a particular project, no? Instead of having students or giving lessons or how to use the computer with music programs, stuff like that. So yeah, if it has to be one word, I would say my new album Solo Olas, because it has a lot of stuff in it that I always dreamt on doing.
Oh,
For
amazing.
example, music collaborations with other artists I really admire, and also a complement of um, the commercial layer of the project, let's say, selling the product at the end is more solid right now because I find my way to work with a record label that is very professional. So I find it more rewarding right now.
Yeah.
Usually, when you are an independent artist, you move from one label to another, and record labels and artists, whole story is very stressing, and you never get a cent from anyone. You are always frustrated because probably they don't promote your work or something like that. And right now, I feel very comfortable with this label. I am happy with it. I am happy with the collaborations I had in the album. And I also been able to make some music videos for the album promotion with a video production company for the first time. Usually I done everything on myself with the cameras, maybe with the help of one friend or another, but always me doing everything. And I didn't want to do this time the same, you know. I wanted to talk with I don't know, with a director or a producer and focus on my music and whatever it needs to be done on my side. But on the music videos for this album, I only write down the script, the main idea, and then I leave it on the hands of the video production company, and I am very happy with the result. It's very indie because there is never money, but we done it. We find a way to make it, and I am happy with the result.
Amazing.
It was a bit of a pity that when I was almost ready to go out and start touring and playing festivals and stuff like that, COVID-19 came along and everything changed. But it not only happened to me, to everyone, no? But that was it was a pity because I was also able to put together a band with, I felt very, very good playing with professional musicians, nice people, you know. I was very happy with that, and I am. I hope we can start over again and put the concert out and play around. I hope it's possible. But I am already working on a new album, so I don't know.
Well, I wish all the best of luck because we know so many artists, they have been postponing, adapting in so many ways. So it's tough for everyone. And especially for if you
and
have
everything related to
gigs.
culture and with festivals and big events with a lot of people, that will be the last thing that reopen and start working again. So I don't know. I try to not put much expectation on that side. And also, I have to be honest, it's not what I enjoy the most to play live. I prefer to work in my studio. But playing live gives me a lot of learning and experience, so I do it. But it's not what I enjoy the most. I am actually very stressed about that. Every time I have to play live, I am very stressed. Yeah, I am not relaxed at all.
Oh, how do you then relax and go on to play then? Because it's a big
No, I
part of
don't play
your
relaxed. I just concentrate myself and play the
and do it.
character of myself in the stage. Try to project the energy I want to project with the songs. Try to don't forget the lyrics. Don't forget anything, and just go along with it.
Oh,
But that's something I learn a lot. The stage acting, playing with the band Papaya. Since I
mm,
moved to Madrid,
yeah,
I produced this very young new band, and as soon as I produce a couple of songs, they invite me to be a member of the band, and
yeah.
now we are 4 members. Uh, but for a couple of years, it was a trio actually, and we had a lot of success inside the indie music
Mm-hmm.
underground scene. But we play all the festivals in Spain. We play the Woman Festival in
Yeah,
London and in Morocco, and I don't know. It's kind of starting at
yeah.
the same time with a lot of success. So yeah, an interest from the media. So it was very exciting and a lot of learning because
Mm.
actually I find myself playing probably 3-4 times a week live, and
That's
something that
wonderful.
you usually stress me a lot. It was a great exercise to be not relaxed, but more to be not afraid. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
So you touched on lockdown and COVID-19. So so what changed for you in terms of, what you're focusing on now at the moment? Has anything changed for you? What have you rediscovered, or what are you doing that's new?
Well, besides the common problems that we are all having,
Yeah, exactly.
no,
Yeah.
the shop, the everything.
Yeah.
I usually work freelance and work at home, so I
Mhm.
am very used to be. I live alone in a small flat in Madrid, so I am used to be alone and work at home. It's not something new for me, but of course it affects me in the emotional field. Probably I am more aware of how everybody is going, how everything's going on, how is
Mhm.
everybody, my family, my friends. Sometimes helping someone that is a bit depressed, sometimes receiving help from someone. I don't know. All this that we are all living that, no? We are in
Yes.
that
Yeah.
math all together. uh, Something that I find that it changed was I had a routine in which every day I was going to have a coffee different places around Madrid, to write my diary for maybe a couple of pages, write down a couple of pages about anything I wanted to write down,
Mhm.
and also make some drawings and illustrations at bars, not at home. And
That's
actually,
amazing.
since the lockdown, I stopped writing and drawing. I stopped completely. I could not
Mm.
feel the inspiration to write down what's going on in my mind, or to ideas to draw, to make an illustration, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that changed it. Also, I am very much in contact with the night and the music events and stuff like that. And the change of that
Mhm.
just is a big contrast in terms of social activity, and also the input you receive. For example, I DJ a lot usually, and that activity is completely paused right now.
Yeah.
So I stopped having this information coming to me all the time, because I need to be all the time updated. Every time I make a DJ set, I want to play some new music, stuff like that. And this is a very good exercise for me
Mm.
to be up to date to what's
Yes.
going on, what's new, stuff like that. Otherwise, only would listen to music from the 80s, 70s, 60s. But to listen to new music is something that comes to me through my DJ activity.
Yeah.
Uh, And another thing that, but it didn't change. It changed, but not much. Is that I have a radio segment in the most popular radio here in Spain. Is
Oh,
Radio 3, and
amazing.
my favorite radio show in which I go every time I have a new album. They make me a couple of interviews, stuff like
Yeah.
that, and we have a very good connection with that people and me, the radio stuff.
Yes.
So one day I said to them, I want to do something with you. I want to live in the radio because I love radio. But let's think something to do together, so I can have a segment, a monthly segment, something like that, to come to
Yeah.
the radio every month. So I started this segment called Latineando con Cineplex. It means Latineando with Cineplex.
Yes.
It has the idea is I go to the radio and talk. It's a very informal chat we have in the radio with two other speakers about musicians from the 60s, 70s, from Latin America
That's
mostly,
amazing.
like boleros, cumbia, I don't know, all music from Latin America.
Yes.
So I talk about their stories, how they started, maybe
That's
some
amazing.
curious stories they have. A couple of weeks ago, I did a Trio Los Panchos, that is most known for all their romantic music and
Yes.
boleros, stuff like that. But they were very party hardcore people at the
Who are they?
60s.
Wow.
You would never say that, but they were worse than the Who or the Rolling Stones. Much worse.
Oh,
Much worse.
good.
Three
Wow.
guys from Mexico, really. Well, actually, United States, but they have born in Mexico originally. So yeah, I try to bring stories that are interesting and to play at the radio some music that is completely out of trend, and it was so important at that
So
moment.
interesting.
And also I play one of the songs live with the guitar, and
Oh,
like just a very informal
yes.
performance, with no production, no backing tracks, no anything. Just me
Oh,
and my
that's
guitar. So I
amazing.
play one of the songs.
Mhm.
We play a couple of the recordings, and I tell the stories. We talk a little bit, and I do this every month. And for me, it's also a very important input in terms of researching, learning. It's very inspiring to learn about the stories of other creative people.
And
It's what
you
I
keep
find more inspiring, really. I am all the time reading biographies, autobiographies, all kind of stories about artists, because it's what inspires me the most. Also, scientists, I don't know, stuff like that. Creative people.
yes.
Everybody could be creative, even
Oh,
scientists.
that's amazing. And so with the radio, this is an amazing program, it sounds like. So you
Yes,
continue to do it now, even during.
yes. It's
Okay.
I just do this segment is 15 minutes, something like that, once a month. In 15
Nice.
days, I have to do it again, and I will be able to go to the radio, because the last 2 or 3, during all the lockdown, at first it was no radio show
Yeah.
at the beginning of COVID. But later they started doing the radio show from home, everybody,
Hmm.
and we tried to do it using Zoom. But the music performance was very creepy. The sound was terrible
Yeah.
because of the internet connection, actually,
Hmm.
not because I have all the equipment here to do it right. But so we started doing from home a couple of times, and now I will be able to go to the actual radio that is it's huge building. It's very early in the morning. For me, it's terrible because I used to sleep very late at night, and I have to wake up, I don't know, 7 a.m., something like that.
Oh
And
dear.
it's crazy. It's completely crazy. Sometimes I went there without sleeping because I could not sleep. If I put together the change of hours and my stress before performing. It's a live radio show, so
Oh,
you cannot miss. I mean, I don't want to miss. I want to
yeah.
be the best I can when I go there, and I stress myself so much. Uh,
Oh,
and this time will be relaxing because I will go there to talk about it, but we will play my performance instead of me doing it there live. Uh, because somehow, I don't know, with the COVID-19, they have the protocol now that they are not accepting live performance
okay.
on the radio. Probably it's because of the singing, or
Yes, yeah.
because that opens the door to a lot of people coming to the radio building,
Mm,
coming and going.
yes.
I don't know. It's the radio building probably hosts 200 employees, something like that.
Mm,
It's a huge place, so
yes,
it's probably like BBC, something like that.
yes.
It's a similar way. As soon as the radio show ends, it's available for listening
Online.
online or downloading, or
Mm,
that's great too.
it's fantastic.
Because I have a I did already like 20 times, 20 segments, something like that. So it's great. It's very stressing to play live so early in the morning with the voice. It's
Mm.
terrible. It is a big effort because my voice is better in the afternoon than in the morning.
So
But I do it anyway. I don't know. I said, let's go.
that's amazing. So this is one of the things that are keeping you inspired, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
almost like going to the university because I am all the time researching about all music from Latin America, bands, artists. All of them have very curious stories. It's very interesting. Yes.
That's amazing. I think our last question then would be around your inspiration. So, what else are you doing to keep yourself inspired and motivated? I remember you said something about watching the skies.
Yes,
So,
yes.
is
Well,
is there
I love
anything else?
science.
Yeah,
I love science in general.
yeah.
But lately, because I had a lot of insomnia, and I could not sleep for some time, I find that watching the sky and the stars, like star, it's like fishing, no? It's something like that. I never fish in my life. I am a vegetarian. But well, I fished when I was a kid, but that doesn't count. Um, so watch the sky is kind of very relaxing to me. Interesting. I'm learning about it. I catch the Starlink train twice,
Amazing.
but just for coincidence, I didn't knew it was coming, it was going on over Madrid, or at that time in the sky in that position or anything. I was just watching the sky and suddenly I saw that train of satellites. My first thought was UFOs, but very fast I learned what it was, and I started looking to the schedule of next satellites. It was a complete coincidence, but this really got me excited into that. And also, I am very lost into the YouTube world of tutorials, documentaries, chats, podcasts, from, I don't know, Joe Rogan to David Attenborough or anything. I am a big fan of comedy too, so
Yeah.
I am rewatching a lot of comedies just to feel myself a bit more happy, more relaxed before going to sleep. Stuff like that. This is something that changed with this experience, I think.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us and
No,
sharing
thank you.
your
Thank you.
experiences. We had such a great time, and I
Thank
feel
you.
like we could talk for hours because every story has got so many
Yes,
other
yes.
ramifications. But
And
thank you so
I
much.
talk too much also.
No, you don't talk too much. No. So
Hmm?
thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you very much, Sandra.